Hi everyone, welcome to the Envelopes Emmy Contender Series. I'm Yvonne Villarreal, and today we're talking to Chrissy Metz, who stars in NBC's breakout hit, This Is Us. We'll be taking your questions as well, so shoot them over in our comments section. Thanks so much for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So exciting.
Yeah.
How many times did you get stopped on your way here?
You know what? We were in a car, so
Okay.
luckily, with tinted windows. So luckily,
People are like leaving you be.
yeah, I mean, for the most part, but I have to say it's actually really wonderful to speak to people I never would have talked to before, before the show. I wish I could stop and talk to everyone, but sometimes time just doesn't permit. So I'm like,
Is there like, what's the most awkward place you've been stopped?
I mean, it's not awkward anymore, but the bathroom.
Oh, it's not awkward anymore.
No, it happens so
often.
You know, I'm not kidding. It happens so frequently that it's like not awkward. I've had a woman hand off her grandchild to me in the bathroom. I've cried with women in the bathroom. I have seemingly held court with 5 different women coming out of stalls at the same time in New York City. And so it's not awkward anymore.
Then do you then feel weird about going in the stall? Like, are they going to listen to me do my stuff? I would feel so awkward.
Do you know, I haven't thought about that. Thanks for the complex.
Sorry.
But you know, I just have to always sort of think like, we all do the same things. We put our pants on the same way. And really there's just a metal wall in between us. So we're half naked and that's what it is. Yeah.
But what are you most often hearing? What stories are people telling you? Is it the death part, the identifying with Kate part? What are you getting?
It's the identification with a different body shape on television. I've never understood my daughter or my son and their weight issues. It's my family members going through, cancer treatment or in hospice. And I mean, I'm telling you, it's so emotional and it's so wonderful to connect with people because I believe that's what we're here for, to commune, to learn, to teach, to grow. And so because the show is so much more than a television show, it's like why I think we're here on this plane of existence. We hear all kinds of things, from adoption to paternity issues, weight, image, how to deal with really difficult situations in our lives through humor.
Was it hard to sort of adjust to this sort of fame? Like, when did you realize this show was something?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I suppose it was maybe like the 5th, 6th episode in where I'm going to the grocery store or to Target, and a woman literally was following me around Target, and I was like, does she need help? Does she think I work here? Am I wearing red? Like, I was like, what? So I think it was around that time where I realized that people were really taking notice to, the characters and to the storylines and to me. And I don't think you can ever prepare for it. I love people and I love to meet new people and I love to talk to people.
You're different than me.
Oh.
When I'm at the store, I'm like, God, I hope I don't see anyone I know from work or something. But you like it, okay?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's. I mean, listen. There's sometimes where I'm like, I am not equipped. I look a mess. I'm literally running for, an essential, and I'm like, oh, and of course it's, can I take a picture? And I'm like, oh, you know what? It's the real me.
It's the real you.
It's the real me. I have to just keep it real. So.
Yeah, I would imagine that's hard, to just be thrust into that. Was there a show for you that you responded to in the way that people respond to This Is Us that you were just, obsessed with?
Gosh, I hate to toot our own horn, but I feel like there's not really been a show like this. Of course, there's different characters and storylines. Orange is the New Black is something that's so real and raw, and there's the humor and the levity throughout the really difficult situation of being in a jail and potentially wrongfully convicted and how that all orchestrates, or is orchestrated. But I don't know. I mean, I'm a very emotional girl, so it doesn't take much for me to get, into my feelings. But I don't know if I've ever responded to a show like I would, even though I know it's coming with our show, it's still very emotional.
Well, let's take people back. I mean, I would think it'd be easy given that The Voice is on before you guys.
Yes.
Have you told Christina Aguilera that she played some parts in where you're at today?
You know, I haven't got a chance to meet Miss Aguilera.
Miss Aguilera.
Who is just a gem, and her voice is out of control. I don't know. She's amazing, and I grew up listening to her. You know, much like even with Mandy. But no, I haven't had a chance to speak to her and thank her. For her her little.
What was that like?
push in
I
the
mean,
right
were you
direction.
just so ready? I mean, tell people the story of how you sort of at the mall. It was at the mall, right?
It was at an open call, a random open call at a Holiday Inn in Gainesville, Florida. My sister encouraged me to take her and her best friend. And I was sitting across from this random woman. She has a different dad, so she's tall and thin and wants to be a model. We're different. But in my heart, I was like, oh, like, I really want to be here, but what am I going to do? Like, please. I never had formal training. I was too afraid to do any theater in high school because it was our theater department in our school was absurd, like amazing. And I was like, oh, I can't. No, there's no way. I did chamber choir, but that was as far as the stage goes. So anyway, I really wanted to in my heart, like, I'm the diplomat. I'm like the entertaining diplomat. I like to be silly and goofy and help people get through things. But I didn't know how to make a career out of it, you know, especially from a really small town. So anyway, I ended up auditioning for my then manager, and she brought us out to LA. I found an agent, and about a year later...
You sang Beautiful. How did you decide on Beautiful?
It was the first thing that came to mind. But you know what? Correction, because my sister had texted me after I said that, because I thought it was beautiful.
What was it?
It was actually, she said, I don't remember this. I thought it was beautiful. Maybe that was like my subtext, right? But she said it was the theme song to Mulan.
Oh, that's another good one.
Which is still Christina. Yeah.
When will my reflection show?
Who I am inside. Guys. Yeah. So that's what she really is adamant about that correction. She's like, can you make sure if anyone asks?
You've heard it here.
Yes.
Yes.
Gosh, she like got on me about that. But yeah, so I came out to LA, and then a year later, after I was taking kids on auditions and, you know, set nannying for other young actors, I became my agent's assistant, and really acting took a back seat. And for 9 years.
How did you feel about that?
Ooh, it was tricky. It was really hard because it was like watching your boyfriend take another woman out every day. You're like, have a great time.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, but I also learned a lot of really beautiful lessons and a lot of humility. And I feel that part of the reason why we're here is to be of service to each other. And I was able to do that. And I was able to sign and work with people who couldn't get agents, or nobody really was on their team, you know, rooting for them. And so I'm grateful for that time, but it was tricky. And when you're not doing what your heart desires, it can be really depressing sometimes. So
what was your sort of wake-up call? I mean, were you at your rope's end? Were you ready to throw it in?
You know, I had been meeting so many people who were like, why aren't you on TV? What are you doing here? And I'm like, where's your headshot? I'm like, let's not talk about me. And so many people kept saying that. And I'm a firm believer that the universe conspires for us. And so I'm like, oh, is that a message? Should I be listening to that? And then Horror Story happened. And I got a couple phone calls who were, you know, people who I was friends with throughout working at a different agency. And she was like, Chrissy, you have to audition for this role. Like, you have to. And I'm like, I'm an agent. Like, what am I going to do? And she's like, you take time off and you just go on the audition. And if you book it, then you're not an agent anymore.
But when you see a role like that on paper, you're kind of like, am I going to be the butt of the joke? Like, without knowing too much. Like, are you hesitant, or are you like, I want to act, so I'll just do it?
You know, I think there's always that conversation, at least internally. And then I was like, oh, it's Ryan Murphy. And he's a genius. And he's really about embracing who we are. And especially, I think, from a woman's perspective.
Women,
And so I just trusted that the universe and it was, and there was. I mean, this character, she was really just accepting who she was. And she was like, let me be who I am. Leave me alone, you know. And then, of course, Jessica Lange's character kind of took advantage of that. And, you know, there has to be some sinister stuff going on. It is American Horror Story. So then there was a year between that where nothing happened. And I was like, oh, I thought the universe was helping me out. What's happening here? And I had maybe one audition, I think maybe one. And I was going to move back home to Florida, teach preschool again or do something. And, I mean, I've been here for 12 years now. And I was like, okay, it's been a little longer than what, time's about to be up. And luckily This Is Us came about, and I had an audition, the regular audition process, and now the rest is history.
Before we get into that audition process, what was it like working opposite like Jessica Lange, Kathy Bates? I mean, how do you even do that?
First of all, it's watching a masterclass in acting. I'm distracted. I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to be acting. Oh, right. Oh, shoot. Because I'm just like.
Yeah.
And take after take.
Jessica's just so like.
Oh, come on.
I can't.
She's unreal. She's unreal to watch. And her and Kathy together, there was a couple scenes that I think it was a 6-minute scene that they had together. And I was like, I don't want to do anything but watch them. So initially it was really intimidating. I'm like, okay. And then I thought, okay, Chrissy, you're a person, they're a person. You're here to do your job. They're doing their job. Pretend like it's not Jessica Lange. And so I had to do that. Initially, but everybody was so lovely and wonderful, and they're such professionals, and so talented in their craft that, you just kind of keep it moving.
And what was it like being on a show of that scale? Because it was like, what, the 4th season?
Yes.
So people knew about.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So
yeah,
going from obscurity to something like this.
Yeah, it was interesting. There's this really cool bar in New Orleans where we were shooting. So we were like in the bubble. But every Wednesday when the show would come on, we would go and hang out with the fans of New Orleans and really, like, people are watching us watching ourselves on TV, essentially.
Yeah.
But it was great to connect with different people. And I was there for a couple weeks before my episodes even aired. So they're like, who's this girl? And then, of course, they're like, who is this girl? Evan Peters is feeding pudding too. So yeah, there was definitely conversations and lots of topics and things to talk about.
What was it like having Evan Peters feed pudding to you?
Okay, first of all, awkward. Okay, he is such a doll. I love him, but I'm like reading the script. I'm like, okay. I'm like, Mom, I just want to let you know, I don't know what's going to happen. And she's like, what are you talking about? Like, I can't tell you. But just be prepared. And especially when the sex scene happened.
The sex scene, yes.
My uncle called and was like, livid. Don't you ever make me watch a show that Chrissy, I'm like, it was a prosthetic suit. I didn't even feel his skin. It's not real. Like, but.
I didn't even feel his skin.
I didn't, which is a travesty. No, I'm kidding. You have to laugh or you're going to cry. But it's awkward. It's like, and let's make it believable. And also.
And sensual.
It's 100 degrees in New Orleans. The pudding's sweating. I'm sweating. I'm like wearing the couch, basically. And Evan Peters is feeding you pudding while people are watching. People watch. So that was it was definitely a first.
Emma wasn't sending you texts like, stay away from my man?
No.
Okay,
no,
well, at least there's that.
No.
There's that.
I can't imagine what it's like to watch.
Yeah.
Luckily my boyfriend.
I can't imagine what it's like to watch your boyfriend feed another woman pudding.
Right.
Yeah, it's weird.
You finished the sentence. Thank you. I didn't want to. But my boyfriend is not an actor, and I don't know.
We'll have to ask him how he feels.
Well, he did ask me several times. He's like, why did you and Chris have to kiss so much? Helen
did?
Yeah. So Helen Hunt directed our Christmas episode.
Which is amazing.
Yeah. I know we're back and forth, but and he was like, but why did you? I think you kissed him 9 times.
Kissed him too hard.
I'm like, he's like, and I felt like you looked at him the way that you look at me. I was like, I was acting. You were my muse. And he was like, I'm like, it's not like that, and it really isn't, because there's nothing sexual about a sex or a kissing scene. There's just nothing.
Is he on set when it's happening or no?
Yeah, that's where we met.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh no.
No. I know that's where you meant, but was he there during these scenes? Yeah.
Like 7 feet away.
Wow.
Which is always good. Awkward. Yeah, it's very strange. Yeah.
Well, so tell me about the audition process for This Is Us, because when everyone when Milo talks about it, when Mandy, they get so jazzed, remembering and thinking about what that magic spark was like.
Oh, well, for me, it was a regular day. It was a regular day. Driving to the audition, and I was, of course, on the 405. Mm-hmm. And I felt like I had
You had your La La Land moment?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Although I had AC.
Okay.
Thank God. I can't live in LA without an AC.
Necessity,
Yes. I I'd rather have like a personal fan and walk than not have any air circulating. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't until I got to the lot where I felt like the sky was bluer, the birds were birdier, and I don't know if it was me because I wanted it desperately, and it was such a special show, but I felt like even the guards in the lot were like, "Good morning." It was like, I felt like Belle from Beauty and the Beast. Seriously. I'm like, "Bonjour, bonjour." Like, "Hi, good day," you know? And so then, of course, I get into the room.
I walk in here, yeah.
You should. Right? It goes a bigger with it, right? So I'll sing Beauty and the Beast all day.
We should do that.
Okay.
Yeah, later.
Yeah, okay, great. Duet later. So it felt great. And then I go into the room and I see all the girls that I typically audition with. And I'm like, and I love them. And they're so talented. I'm like, well, damn.
Are y'all supportive of each other?
Very,
when
very
you see
supportive.
everyone the same?
Very
yeah.
supportive. And because there's just not a lot of opportunity for women who aren't, you know, the conventional, whatever conventional. You fill in the blank. So, and then I thought, okay, it's not about me. It's like, I'm here to do my job and let's just make sure I sputter the words out. You know, like I'm just going to be present in the moment. And so I go in and first of all, thank God she asked me to do the scene again because I think I was just nervous and excited. And when they ask you to do it again, it typically means that they're sort of interested.
Right.
At least you're on the right track. And then I was like, oh, dang it. I felt like I wasn't in the pocket. And then I was like, great. My freeway audition was amazing. Why can't I follow through?
Right.
And I'm like, don't get in your own way. So we did it a couple times and they said thank you. And, you know, I was on my way. And it wasn't until the later, you know, like a week or two later that they were interested in doing a callback. And there was some not so conventional or traditional situations that happened where I tested twice with another girl who was incredible and beautiful and talented, and I was like, oh my God, this is hers. Like, this is her show. And she said to me, this is yours. And I'm like, we don't know, we don't know, you know. But it was a lengthy process because you test and then you get paired up, and then a couple weeks passed, and they're like, we still can't make a decision, and then we tested again. So yeah, we drummed through some hoops, and but it was great for me because I felt like I just sunk more into the character and more into Kate and her plight. So
what did you respond to about who she was just in those, just in what you had then?
Yeah, I auditioned with the scene where Kate and Kevin are in the bathroom after she falls off the scale and calls her brother. And I just love that while she has her own image issues, Kevin does as well, and he's only based upon how he looks, and people don't take him seriously, and he might be, you know, not the brightest bulb, and that's what people think, and that's what people do is they judge you based on your first impression. And I thought that was such a great duality between the characters, and also discovering that it's not about the food. The food is a symptom, and there's bigger issues for Kate to figure out, and the codependent relationship and drawing boundaries and all those things that when you're the butt of the joke, you don't get to the, no pun intended, but the meat of it. Yeah. So I really responded to that. And just the voices were really distinct, and it was such a beautiful way of, you know, telling the storyline from, you know, the past and then, you know, present day. It was so different than anything I'd read before.
And then when you see that when NBC releases a trailer, that trailer does like what a Spider-Man trailer would do. Like, people are watching this trailer like gangbusters. Yeah. And then when you see how people respond to the series once it airs, like, was that surprising to you? That
Well, first of all, I thought somebody paid somebody to watch the trailers. I'm like, holy smokes.
And NBC's just handing out
making it rain.
Or 20th.
Yeah. But it wasn't. It was purely about people's interest in the human condition. And also, Jason Mraz's beautiful song.
Yes.
That'll get you going. I don't care what you're watching. You know? And I love him. And it was just so moving, and it was edited perfectly, and it showcased like each of these, you know, through lines of the story, and I never expected that kind of reaction. And I was like, oh, this might be something different. And I think so necessary in our climate, and also in the shift that I feel like people are making and want to make in their own lives. So.
Well, I feel like I've talked to all you guys about how often the Jack question gets asked. Do you have a favorite theory that you've heard about what has happened?
Do you know, some of them are so far-fetched. Like somebody said, like that he died in the Twin Tower. I'm like, the timing doesn't add up, everybody. And like, what?
What?
You know, but I haven't heard a ton of them.
You haven't heard a ton.
No, and it's hard to read stuff because some people say some choice things about me.
Yeah.
Who don't even know me, and I have to just.
Yeah, what's that push and pull like, where you have all these people really into the show, but it also opens you up to trolls?
Yeah. It's interesting because there could be 300 beautiful comments.
You always find
that one. I'm like, oh, and it stings for a second. I let it sting. I talk about it. I talk to my friends, to my team, whoever, my family, and then I'm like, okay, moving on. But I feel like you have to feel the feelings, right? Because we stuff so much, and it's hard. Sometimes it's really hard. But I realize that hurt people, and so the only thing I can do is have compassion for them, because if you truly love yourself, you just can't be hateful,
right?
And so I don't think, I'm of the theory that an eye for an eye leads the whole world blind. And so you have to ignore it. And then just, celebrate with the people who do appreciate what you're doing and who you are and who you're doing it for.
Right.
So.
Well, and there have been criticisms that some people feel that Kate's journey is solely tied to the weight issue.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that? Like, do you understand that, or do you see something being explored that's deeper than that?
I think something, a lot more is being explored deeper than just the physical. But it's also so much of a part of who she is, and she's trying to overcome that and figure out why. And also it ties into so many things, because we realized and we learned that she feels guilty for the way that Jack passed away. And people can relate to that. And whether we fill a void with food, gambling, the internet, we're all trying to, I think sometimes we numb ourselves to get through things. And her story just happens to be about weight. But, even with Kevin, he's not necessarily been a ladies' man, but, sometimes we make really terrible decisions and we regret them, and we get to learn and work through that. So I don't think it's just about the weight. That just happens to be what the picture looks like right now. So
how about, is it hard when, obviously you have to be careful with what you say about the show. You don't want to reveal stuff. But then you got family members that are like, I'm your mom.
Girl.
Or I'm like your aunt. Can't you tell me? Because you guys know what happened, right? Yeah. And so has it been hard?
Yeah. I think it's one thing when your sisters and your mom are like, just tell me. And I'm like, you don't want to know. B, quit trying to open up your presents before Christmas morning. And C, like let's not focus on that. It's such a huge, and John, who's one of our EPs and directors, he made such a beautiful point. He said, just because someone passes away doesn't mean that's the end of the story. That's actually the beginning of the story for so many other characters who were affected by the passing of their father or their husband, So it is tricky, because sometimes I'm like, oh, did I just give a clue? So it is tricky to be cognizant of all the time, especially when your family's like, hey, texting me. I'm like, you don't want to know. Just hold your horses. So.
Speaking of texting, I know there's this massive group text chain between the cast and some of the producers, writers.
Yeah, there's 10 of us. 10 is the max.
There's a limit. That's what Milo was saying.
Which is terrible, because I think that it should be limitless.
Limitless.
But I know.
What was the last thing you guys were texting about?
Gosh. Oh, I think it was my Family Feud episode.
Oh.
Susan texted and said that she had seen it. And I was like, oh. And I literally was like, my brain left my body in couple of my answers. So it's my disclaimer.
Dog peeing on the couch.
No. Did you watch it? Okay. First of all, I'm so embarrassed. My mom was like, Chrissy, I don't want to watch it. I have to have a bottle of wine. My mom doesn't even drink. And I'm like, Mom, it's Family Feud. It's supposed to be fun. It's a game.
Right.
And so, but my thing was, I was like, Mom, I'm more embarrassing than you than anybody ever was collectively, because my response to Steve Harvey's question was, he asked, what would a kid use a loan for?
Yes.
I thought my answer was so avant-garde, so special.
Share it.
And I said, for a new teacher, Steve. A new teacher? What?
And the way Steve reacts to the answers is just too good. But were you allowed to look at Steve Harvey?
Yeah,
Okay.
sure. Yeah, sure.
Because you
Sure.
know he sent out that memo.
Oh, do you know what? He's so lovely.
Okay.
He's always been beyond lovely to me.
Okay.
Yeah, no, he's great. But when he's like, well, that's one way of getting rid of somebody. And I was like, that's not what I meant. I just felt like, sometimes kids are like, the teacher's being mean to me.
Yeah.
I'm going to pay you off. Like, sometimes I'm too smart for my own good.
I'm trying to
terrible.
Be positive about it. I don't know.
You can't. Let's be. You know what? But Amy Schumer had some really cheeky things to say.
Yeah. That was
I'm
funny.
just saying. But it's funny of Amy Schumer. Oh, fine. Fine. I know it wasn't clever, but it was my answer, and I am accepting of
What
that.
do you think that would have been like if the Pearsons were on it? Who
Oh.
would have the best answers?
Of course, Randall. He's so smart. Perfect.
He's so smart.
He's, it's interesting because Justin Sterling and I all did Hollywood Game Night together.
I didn't see
And
that
I
one.
think, like, as the big three, we were kind of amazing.
Yeah?
I'm not gonna brag anymore, but like we have a collective consciousness that we like. I'm telling you, I'm just.
And
saying.
is Milo really like the dad?
Oh, yeah.
Like, is he sometimes too positive?
No.
No?
No.
I
think
wonder how that is.
he's like the dad you always wanted, but also he's such a great human being and friend, and he's the guy that, like, if you're sweating or crying, he has a handkerchief ready. He's got, like, he just takes care of you and makes sure that you're comfortable, you're happy. It's so sweet.
Did you guys talk about the Jack-Kate relationship? Because obviously, I mean, with any father-daughter,
Yeah.
that's a tight relationship.
Yeah.
And we come to discover she feels some guilt about his passing.
Right.
Did you guys talk about their bond and how it shaped her since then?
I think we've never really chatted about it. We've done our own work individually.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's special because you bring, like, because our perception is our reality. So my relationship to him is different than his relationship to me, well, to
Yeah.
Jack and Kate. So we haven't talked much about it, but also we know that there's only up until a certain point where they had a relationship. So a lot of it, I like to watch the younger Kate Mackenzie, or Hannah. The teenage Kate. So I kind of see, like, how their interactions are, but because the relationship was obviously cut short. I kind of make my own conclusions, and I work on that differently.
Yeah. So you
Separately.
study those scenes, like, to sort of see?
Yeah, I just like to know,
Yeah.
if there's mannerisms or if there's something that either one of the girls have chosen, that maybe, like, it's a little tick or a little the way that they might,
Yeah. They're so good.
Oh, they're so wonderful.
When she
So wonderful.
pulls the sweater out from the closet to see the size that her mom wears.
Yeah. And
I
compares to what?
Yeah.
I know. And, the pool scene where,
Yeah.
she's reading the napkin and,
Mm-hmm.
up until then she was like, felt so beautiful, and of course then Jack comes to the rescue and with the special shirt, it's heartbreaking.
Are you able to bond with them when you guys aren't shooting? I don't know if you're ever there on the same days they are.
We're not typically
yeah.
working, of course, but I do get to see them at events. And that's always really cool, to see, like,
Right.
three different ages of one character, and they're so sweet and wonderful.
Well, let's take some fan questions. I don't want to hog things.
Oh.
Where do you hope the writers will take teenage Kate?
Oh, goodness. Well, I think because we know that teenage Kate has lost her father. It's limitless. It really depends on, I mean, there's been, of course, a little snippet of
Yeah.
of her wearing the eyeliner in that phase, and maybe she goes into the not sure of how she feels about herself and really exposing herself to relationships that might not be best for her. But I think being a teenager is so difficult. Oh my gosh.
I don't ever want to do that
Yeah,
again.
no thanks. I'm good. So I hope that they explore more of, you know, how you navigate that. How do you navigate the death of your father, and going through puberty? Come on.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For a lot of people, it's hard watching certain episodes because they hit home. What scenes were hard for you to film or watch?
Yeah. To watch, I mean, it's really, there's so many poignant moments in the show. Of course, the Memphis episode was really difficult because you're not only saying goodbye to a character, but obviously Ron's going to be in flashbacks and he's going to be on the show, but you get so attached emotionally to somebody, and it's a really difficult time. And everybody's lost someone in some capacity, and it's hard to watch that. Of course, the Kate and Toby breakup scene was really hard because when you love somebody deeply, but you know that they're not the best person or even the best timing for both of the people in the relationship, that's hard. And
how about the drum circle?
Oh, you know what? First of all, that exercise is super cool and super cathartic, and I'd never done it before. And I was like, okay?
Do you wake up like, ugh?
You know, you hold it a certain way, and they're a couple of ounces. I think they're
That's
like
fine.
So, but like you do, you're drumming, you're getting in there, and you're feeling some way about it. But yeah, that was really hard because I am not an angry person. My go-to is usually positivity and light and like happiness. But obviously everybody, and me included, of course, has a bit of anger and resentment and pain toward myself or decisions I made or haven't made. And so
the release is
the
amazing.
release was incredible. And it's such a great workout. It was like, oh my, this is amazing. So going through it, I mean, that day was a really hard day. I think I had like 8 different scenes. It was like all my entire day. And that was toward the end of the day. But so many people relate to that because some people just want to scream in their bedrooms or their bathrooms and their cars to just get that out, you know, because sometimes there aren't words.
No, sometimes
there's just not words. Yeah.
Well, let's do a lightning round if you're ready.
I'm ready.
Last show you binge watched?
Oh, Handmaid's Tale. I'm enjoying
This is like the thing. This is the thing.
And Big Little Lies.
Good one.
Yeah.
What show that you love would you want to sit and watch someone else enjoy for the first time?
Downton Abbey.
Okay.
Like that's my jam.
If you could go back and be on any classic show, what would it be?
Oh, Are You Being Served? The British comedy.
I've never heard of this.
Oh, they work in a department store. Oh my gosh.
Is it like on Netflix? Where can I watch it? How did you watch it?
I was married to an Englishman.
Oh,
and so, yeah,
nice.
I was privy to that
Okay.
stuff. Yeah.
What genre would you like to try?
Genre. Oh, well, I'm scared of horror stuff. I'm scared of that stuff. So, not that. Genre. You know, maybe like a rom-com.
Okay.
You know,
I like that.
yeah, specifically.
Who's going to be your leading man?
I mean, Oscar Isaac. Are you around?
Thank you. I like that. Walter White or Tony Soprano?
Oh. Walter Soprano. I don't know. I can't choose.
What was your first acting job, and what did you learn that you're still using now?
Well, my first pretty big acting job was an episode of Entourage. It was the second season. The episode was called Sundance Kids, and it was a scene with James Cameron. And I literally was like, I can't do this. It's James Cameron. What's going on? I remember crying to my manager on the phone in the bathroom, and she's like, you put your big girl panties on, and you figure it out, Chrissy. You're there to do a job, and you're a professional. Don't let this get, we're all the same. And I'm like, I don't know. And it was just sort of validated, like, okay, yeah, we all are the same. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we get in our own ways and our egos really try to deter us. So it was about just It's not personal.
Just
Removal of the ego.
do the job.
Yeah.
I'll throw one in there.
Oh.
Kevin or Randall?
In what capacity? What? Like, if I had to choose?
Choose.
Like Sophie's Choice?
Yeah.
Oh, girl.
Finally, Dan Fogelman said I could be the honorary 4th Pearson child. So, like, what do I need to, like, is there a hazing that goes on? Like, what do I need to do?
You know what? We love each other very much. However, there's some codependent relationship issues that we go through. So you have to be available at all times.
All times.
Yeah.
Okay.
Text, call, smoke signal, whatever, however we can reach you. And you're going to have to put yourself on the back burner.
Okay.
And put other people before you for a little bit.
I don't know if I could do that.
Yeah. Right? Good for you.
Just kidding.
No, that's amazing. That's what we all, you got to put yourself first.
Put yourself first.
No, you do.
At least try.
Yeah.
Well, Chrissy, thanks. It was such a pleasure having
pleasure.
you.
Thank
and
you.
for all of you, if you want to check out more of our Emmy chats, head over to latimes.com. Thanks.